Fala aí, galera, beleza? Estamos aqui mais um vizinho. Parou aqui no final do Gus, garoto da pipa, saiu voando, né? A pipa dele, olha a pipa dele ali. Eu passei por dentro. Ah, não. Isso aqui é boa, pelo menos.
My mom moved up to the loft after her brothers died.
Loft?
At the time, it was as far away as she could get.
I see.
Religion was another thing my mom never talked about, but I think it helped her a lot after her dad died. She spent a summer building houses in Calcutta, where she met my dad, Sanjay. My mom moved to India a week after graduation and got a job teaching English. Louis was born a year later.
Você tá grávida, mina? Pode se vai alto.
When my dad died, I don't think Mom knew where else to go. I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back. The house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that. And for a while, things were good, almost normal.
Ensinar umas crianças nada. Dá uma passagem secreta aqui também.
But it didn't last. The beginning of the end was Milton's 10th birthday, when Edie gave him a castle. After Milton disappeared, the only thing he left behind was a room full of paintings.
Caralho, por cima dos braços a mina tem tipo. Ah, tá bom.
Milton Finch in The Magic Paintbrush. I was 4 when Milton disappeared.
Oi, mas na porta não tem a data de falecimento dele. 2003 tá no caderno dela. Mas só tá 1932 na porta. Todos que a gente viu até agora tinha data de falecimento. Data onde eles morreram. Será que...
Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors. I think Edie was happy to finally have another painter in the family. whatever Milton had found in the house. Mom didn't want it getting out. Mom definitely blamed Edie, but I think Louis blamed himself. After he graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room, until Mom got him a job at the cannery. Everyone always told me to stay out of Louis's room, except Louis.
Não entra no quarto dele. Você não pode entrar no meu quarto. Poxa, na moral, só ver esse quarto. E tudo isso não é uma preguiça. Ah, ele tinha uma
Louis's room smelled very, very familiar. That part of him lived on. Louis and I spent a lot of time playing games together, but he was surprisingly bad at them. He died a lot.
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Louis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Louis first noticed the monotony of his daily life. He kept working at the cannery. But he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to wander. I asked him to describe it. He said he started small. Imagining a labyrinth. He'd feel his way about. Then something moved. Bats. And toads. And things that have not names. He knew it was all in his head. But he took it very seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself. But he found something more. I worried about him then. Daydreaming at the cannery. I spoke with his boss. But he said Louis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused. Like a whole new Louis. So I let him go on. I even encouraged him. It seemed very promising at first. He told me he'd made a new friend. On the edge of a city he named Louis Total. He built the city up slowly, brick by brick. Then he made musicians. And songs for them to play. He talked about starting a band. And he was always humming something. Every day his imagination grew stronger. He no longer spoke at the cannery. But his chopping was as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him that all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination, so he could do whatever he wished. He held an election for mayor, and he won. They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering. It became a game for him. He'd conquer a city, then immediately push on. New Louisville. St. Louis. He started drifting away from our reality. Minneapolis. Until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery. Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Louis kept sailing on. In Louisburg, he heard rumors of a handsome queen. The queen was on her own quest for sinister serpents. He followed the sound of her silver harp. His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound. He knew the world was all in his imagination. But he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king. For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him But the real Lewis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace. My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him. We began to forget the world we know. I think it pained him to remember Lewis, the cannery worker. He began to despise the man with a royal contempt. I still thought I could save him. Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The palace would be packed with his companions.
Olha a merda. Anota aí o que eu falo, galera. Olha a merda, mano. Isso vai dar uma merda muito grande. Capaz dele ter caído dentro do cuidador aqui.
Including the wise Calico who'd insisted on advising him. His queen waited, holding his crown. There was only one thing left to do. Bend down his head.
Sério? Sério isso? Sério?
And the rest I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
O cara botou a cabeça no decapitador.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
Bom. Eu acho que vai ser por aqui mesmo que eu vou encerrar esse vídeo. Vai ser um vídeo mais curtinho, provavelmente. Mas, todavia, porém, nem lembro mais desses negócios. Gente, eu não sei se vocês aí sabem, mas aqui no canal tem uns parceiros. Quem puder aí, ó, acessar meu canal. No computador eu vou estar botando as telinhas aqui onde vai estar em computador. Vocês acessem o canal do pessoal, né, do Taquese, do Snow, do Hector Games, do Hector's Web aí também. Dá essa moral aí, pessoal, do Yes, todo mundo aí, o Enzo, todo mundo que tá aí, dá uma moralzinha aí pro galera. Dá uma chance aí, entra no canal deles, vê aí um vidinho deles aí, vê se vocês gostam. E até a próxima, deixa o like, compartilha se gostou. Fui.